G'day, Aussie bonsai bloke. How you going? G'day guys. So today here in the shed we've got Laurie's olive tree. I'm looking after Laurie's trees while he's overseas on, well, a living holiday. His wife's Canadian, so he's over in Canada. Been over there for a couple of years, so I've been looking after it for a couple of years. To be honest, I haven't done much to it. I've just kept it alive and that's about it. We did a carving video on this one. Potentially that was this one, I think so. He's got two that look very similar. And yeah, we just went through and carved it. And possibly did a little bit of wiring at the same time. So today, we're just going to get in there, we're going to clean it up, we're going to wire it, give it a bit of a style, and just give it its next stage on its way to development as a bonsai. So the first thing we've got to do is just come in here and just clean stuff out that we're not going to need. So pretty much where you've already got some main branching selected and you've got these extra shoots that are just coming out, we're just going to come in here and just chop it out. All these extra little shoots are going to be chopped out. They're not needed, they've grown since we've chosen the main lines of the tree. Potentially you might want to use one of the new shoots, so just keep an eye on them, make sure there's nothing in the new shoot that makes it more interesting or better than the old one, i.e. closer internodes, more branching, in a better location. If the new one's in a better location, maybe choose that one and chop your old branch off that you were going to keep. But we have put an extra 2 years into these other branches, so I think in general we'll try to keep the older branches and just get rid of the new sucker ones. So there's a good sucker one in here, which would be a good branch on its own, but we've got plenty of other branches. And by cleaning up a lot of these sucker growth, you will then be able to see what's going on in the tree, because it's very hard just looking at a tree like this, and I'm sure you can probably relate to the actual camera footage right now. You guys are probably on camera going, or probably watching your TV going, I can't bloody see anything, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Well, you know what? I can't really see anything either. Things are very difficult, very hard to try and find and see what you need when it's like this. What I will say is we're going to try and keep a lot more stuff than I normally would. Lately I've just been hacking a lot of stuff back to structure. But this already has some structure and I really want to start wiring out a lot of stuff so that we're able to keep more stuff rather than just waste it, cut it off and go again. Cutting it off, going again helps build structure and movement. But if you do it too often, can actually become a fairly long route to getting a bonsai, because you're constantly chopping stuff off that you probably could have wired and kept. And the reason you chop it off is because you can't really be bothered wiring it, so you think I'll just chop it off and get a direction change, which works and it's fine. It's just a longer way of doing things. Sometimes wiring something to move it into a spot that you want is a great way to be able to keep more branches and develop your tree a lot faster. And you can also go to guide wires too if you need to use guide wires. So we're going to try to keep a lot of stuff on this tree today and hope there's enough stuff on here to make the trees start to look like an actual tree or a bonsai. This will be just a nice little squat bonsai, probably only about this tall. So, alright, that's given us that branch. Let's move around, chop that one off. We're going to keep and wire this stuff. I'm going to keep and wire this stuff here. We're going to keep and wire this stuff. Obviously it's going to be shortened. I'm only going to wire the first, 4 inches or 10 centimeters of the branch. So that's as far as I'm going to wire. But I am going to keep all of these branches that I leave on right now. So I'm getting rid of anything in the crutch. I'm also getting rid of any downward branches and any sucker shoots from the bottom of the trunk that we don't need. Some of the sucker shoots from the bottom of the trunk you might want to keep, so just keep an eye on that. Sometimes they do come in handy to fill a gap, fill a bit of an ugly spot. And yeah, you know, with an evergreen like this, if you have an ugly spot in a tree, you can manipulate them by moving something in an area that's bad to fill it in so you can't see it. And that's the beauty about an evergreen. Deciduous trees are a lot harder. In winter, you can see any fault that you have on the tree. Evergreens, pines, you can kind of try and hide a lot of that bad stuff. So here we go. I'm going to keep this branch here. It will get shortened. I'll shorten it now a little bit, just so we can see. This one here, pretty happy with what's left on there. There's one going down here I'll get rid of. This branch out here, I want to keep this. Okay, I want to keep this. Yep, all of that. Like I say, I'm keeping a lot more stuff on this one this time. And yeah, okay, it's going to give me a lot more work to do, but we're going to have something that's going to look not finished, but a lot further progressed than if I just took the bloody snips to it all and just chopped it all off short and said have a good day, you know. So we're going to keep all that, keep that. So that's that branch done. Now we've got a severely massive sucker here coming right up. And that's what I'm talking about. If that was in a better location, you could wire it, bend it, quite flexible. So you can see the flex you can get on that. Okay, but, or you could cut it back short like that, let it then divide out and then wire that stuff, and that would become part of your main structure. But in this case, we're not going to need it. We've got a beautiful branch here with some nice secondary and tertiary branching on it. Okay, we're going to keep all of that one. Like I say, it's a little bit hard to see in here, but you do work your way through. I suggest what you do is you get to the base of a branch, you just follow it up, chop stuff that you don't want, follow it up, go out into all its little branching, and just do branch at a time systematically around the whole tree. Because if you look at the whole tree and go, what do I cut? It just becomes really confusing and really hard to work out what you want to cut. But we know now we've done all the bottom branching. We're moving our way up to a couple of little mini branches in the middle of the tree. We want to keep that. Here's another. We're working our way slowly up to the apex now. Now, this branch here is a sucker. You can see that's a sucker. But, question is, does it have more, does it offer more now on that than this branch that it's kind of replaced? It's kind of replacing this little one here. So that's not in it. That little bit there, I don't know whether you can see this, but that little bit there, or you've got this. So question is, it will bend around and we could replace some stuff. Have a look. because it's not in a bad spot as far as it's in the front, in part of the canopy where you start to want to have stuff come towards you. But what it does do is it hides this really nice curve that we've got in here. And if you want to bend that out of the way so you can see the curve, well then this grows from almost the inside and it sort of takes your eye away from that nice curve in there. So that curve was created by chopping back a leader and letting it grow out sideways. And we want to keep that. So I've decided to get rid of that sucker. I nearly kept it, but not quite. And we're going to let something else grow from this little guy here forward and maybe from here somewhere. And hopefully we can develop something that comes out the front there just to hide a few things. So that could be the back of the tree too, I'm not sure. We'll have to work our way around and have a look. Yeah, we've got another olive in the benches that looks pretty much the same as this one. Right, we're working our way up. We're nearly done. Well, we're nearly done as far as, there you go, another sucker, which we don't want. We've got enough other branches. And as you're wiring too, you may find, a little sucker that you don't want to keep. Or one that just looks a bit awkward and you decide, no, let's just get rid of that one. We were going to keep it, but changed our mind. And maybe you've wired something below it that's filled in an area that you wanted to fill with a certain branch, and then once you filled it in with something else, you decide, well, no point having it now. Okay. So, we have, I believe, got it back to whatever I'm going to wire. Pretty sure everything left now I'm going to wire. So one thing now I can do is probably go back into the middle of all these crutches and strip all the leaves out of the crutches just so that I've got somewhere to put the wire. You don't have to do this as a separate thing now. What you could do is, as you wire each one, so that it's not a fiddly, annoying process, as you wire each one, you could pick the leaves off as you do it. These leaves are easy to pluck. You just pluck them. If you've got a branch, you just want to pull it away from where the branch comes, well, away from where the leaf comes out towards the tip of the branch, and they just pop off. If you peel it back, you may end up stripping the bark backwards on the outside of your branch. Although they all come off okay, it's not ideal to go backwards. Better to go forwards, plucking off your leaves that are in the way. So yeah, I'll go through and do that. I'm not going to really show you guys wiring. There's so many videos out there to show wiring, and I've shown wiring in the past. Basically, you just wrap it around, have an anchor point, wrap it around, start with your thickest wire, then you go your thinner wire until you're done, and work, but know which branches you want to bend. So, you know, this one here I'm happy with. I'm not going to try and bend that. This big one here is going to have some pretty thick stuff on because I want to bend that. And if I'm going to put some thick stuff on that one, then I'm going to run the wire down and around this one so that I can give that one a little bit of movement. So that'll have thick to thick, and then I'll start running some thinner stuff up the branches and some really thin stuff out on the tips. But I think showing you guys how to wire is almost a separate video on its own. So I'm going to go off camera now and just have a bit of mental therapy while I wire, and I'll see you guys in a minute with the wire on. Cheers. G'day guys, here we are, probably about an hour later. All I've done is wire it, maybe just over an hour. Not to worry. So here we are guys, about an hour later. And we've got the wire on. Pretty much put on enough wire to bend everything. One thing I will say about wire is err on the side of too thick, not too thin, because when you want to move a branch, you want it to move. I haven't wired some things at the base because I don't think I need to move them at the base, and other things like down here I have wired at the base with a really strong wire, which is extremely hard to put on. But although thicker wire is hard to put on, at least it does its job, and you don't have to wreck the branch by moving it back and forth 20 times to try and get it to move. Or alternately, you could wire the branch twice with a smaller gauge wire, which works too, and which I've done in quite a lot of spots because I don't have many gauges of wire. I pretty much go from thin to a little bit thicker to decently thicker, and then straight up to like I think it's a 7mm wire, which is crazy, or so gauge 7, whatever they call it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You'll see the branches, I haven't moved them into any location they're going to stay in, but you will see that the tree does look a bit neater, and I'll tell you why. Because I'll wire the bottom branch, and then I'll move it out the way so I can get to the next one, then I'll move it out the way to get to the next one, move it out the way, then when I get to the top I'll move them all down, start wiring this one, then I've got to move them out the way to get to that one. And as you can see, it sort of untangles the branches as you wire it. But let's get into it. One thing try to avoid too is, you can see here, I don't have a big fat wire that comes up into here, which is a bit of a no-no. So that there, how it wraps around there, it doesn't anchor to anything straight down here. So if I go to move both these branches that way, you can't. It's just going to flop back like a little floppy at the end. But in this case, I decided I don't need to really move that top one there. I'm just going to move these little branches. So anyway, so let's start moving them, and we'll chop and move as we go. So what I'm looking to do is to have a lot of things growing upright. Side branches will become side branch / trunks, which will end up helping out with the canopy of the tree. So, you know, a broadleaf will have multiple branches that end up in top of the canopy. So let's do that. We'll start here and work our way up. So I'll just move a couple out of the way so that we can start moving down here. So here we just want to move these branches in a nice shape, up and out a bit, sort of up, out a bit. You're just looking to fill in a lot of spaces, a lot of gaps, and have a lot of branches around the place everywhere to help you fill in all these gaps. What you don't want at the end is flat pads with big gaps to another flat pad. You want these to be nice thick pads contributing to a lot of volume in the whole tree, and even heading up to become part of the canopy as well. So we're going to end up part of the canopy there. We'll bend that one out and around there, bend this one at the back here, out, up, so you can see that's really helping fill that in. And then we're just going to come through with hopefully some not so good snips and just shorten things. You might chop off a bit of wire, you might not. Branch cutters be okay with aluminium. And then we want to move this one here. I'll probably move this one here up. And if you want to move a thick branch, give it a bit of a twist as well. It helps the fibres to not break. And then we're going to move that one forward. And you can see that's come forward, up, and now we come out to the tip here and we'll cut it back short, and that will become part of the tip. Probably could come back to there and let it divide back there. And then we got a side one here which will help fill in a void back here and also give some volume to this pad here. So okay, so I don't want to bend the bottom of that one. Alright, so I brought you in a bit close. I don't want to bend the bottom of that one. I just want to bend that one around and up and out. And then we can keep a couple of these little side branches on that one. Chop back here. Chop them back shorter so they can divide in closer. Maybe twist it up, snake it up a bit because it's a little bit far outside the final canopy of the tree. So you can sort of snake them back up like that. That's fine. Don't be scared to, if you've got a big void, bend one back in towards the tree and then come back out. It's fine if you want to fill in a big void. This one's getting tangled. Not much of this one's going to get used because it's quite fat. Okay, so we're going to chop it back here, shorten these two so we can use those. This one here can come out here, another one out there. Just once again, just going up, out, up, filling in a lot of different voids around the place. Just anywhere you see a big gap, just move a branch into the spot where there's a big gap. Simple as that. Keeping in mind you want all the branches to go up as you get towards the top. And there's nothing wrong with having a second canopy out here and another canopy out here from a different branch. So you'll have, it's a single trunk, but then it becomes kind of like a multi-trunk as well. So we're nearly done. It's a little bit congested here. You don't actually need many branches to make, when you're making a little tree like this, you don't actually need that many branches to make a tree. Here you can see I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 branches, and that looks quite congested. And that's probably as many branches as you ever want in that area. And then you'll just work on some little twigging right out on the edge. But structurally the branches are done in there. All done. So you could move this one up here in that void, move the next one up a little bit just to create a bit more room. You could move one down. It's fine to have the odd one down on the edge if you want to. Come around to here. Bend that one to fill in the void there. This one here can probably go straight across over here. Bit of a bend, another bend here. I don't know, they're starting to get a long way out. Just debating on this branch. This branch is bringing stuff a long way out. I think we can just keep bending in there and then bend stuff back out. Bend it back out and around, keep it interesting. Keep it out and around. You want to keep them flowing, all these branches, pretty much flowing. You can have some branches cross over a little bit, but if you have branches cross over too much and get too confusing and it's not really flowing, it just looks complicated and messy. I know trees in the wild do quite a bit of crossing over, but the whole outline of the tree looks quite flowing, which it sort of has to be to keep all the energy spread over the whole tree. It's just when you do stuff in miniature, it has to be a bit cleaner it just has to be cleaner, or it looks a bit more congested because it's just so small. And once you've got that pretty much done like that, well, it's up to you how much you finesse and play around once you think you've got it pretty right. As you can see, we've got branches pretty much everywhere now, which is what I thought would happen with this tree. I thought, you know, this thing's got enough branches. We wire the whole thing out. We've got a good chance. We've got a good chance of filling the whole thing in today. Just had to snake that one a bit more so that it would, one, look more interesting, and two, go inside the outside shape of the tree that we want. You know, you can have a little bit of a higher bit, then another bit of a canopy here, and another canopy here at sort of a little bit different levels, just to keep the interest up. But you do want to keep it reasonably uniform with a few little jagged bits just to keep it interesting. So there you go, that's well, that's pretty much it for now. Maybe work on it, you know, maybe finesse a few branches as I walk past here and there, but in general I'm pretty happy with that. Just look around for any eye pokers, any ones that you don't like that are facing in weird directions, or any that are getting hidden by other branches too much, because if they're hidden too much they will just drop off and die because they won't get enough sunlight. So we want to make sure we keep them with enough sunlight. So there you go. Olives make excellent trees, excellent beginner trees. You can be nice and rough with them and they'll just shoot back everywhere. And they don't take long to develop. That's only a couple of years from a stump, probably 3 or 4 years, being carved out and then literally just shaped. So yeah, that's about it. You can see nice and wide canopy and fully wide. No worries. Thanks for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your mates about the channel, and above all else, have fun. Bonsai is a lot of fun and a very relaxing hobby. There you go. I'll give you one last little spin. You know, that can be a front too. There you go. No worries. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Have a good day. Cheers.